So, hey guys, are you frustrated with where you're at right now? Maybe stunted in your progress? Well, if you are, I want to recommend a place for you to go called Growth Day. growthday.com/ed. It is the #1 personal development app on the planet. It's got all kinds of high performance techniques in there, courses, accountability, journaling, live speeches from some of the top influencers in the world, including me. It's an overall environment to change your life. growthday.com/ed.
It's a much easier thing to start pointing at, you know what? I keep doing that and it doesn't pay me back. I'm not getting my compounding asset on that decision or those people, places. Eliminate those, and by sheer mathematics, we end up with more of what does feed us.
I achieved all of the goals that I set in 2016 and became the ideal version of myself. So I actually, rather than guessed at what would happen, I actually experienced it.
Can we get right into your brain, brother?
Let's go.
Let's go. So I think one of the cool things about personal development and the journey of self-awareness and whatnot is figuring out your identity. And so in preparing for this, I'm like, some of the things you say, I've not heard ever said this way in self-help, personal development, self-improvement. And you said, finding your identity, I'd like you to elaborate on this, is more like a process of elimination than it is discovery. I've never heard that before.
Well, we all want to figure out who we are. As Bob Dylan says, hey, everyone's their own creation, just create it. We all want to know what that is. The affirmative way to go forward, how to play offense. But I found that's hard, man. That's hard. What's much easier, and I think the reasonable first step to figuring out who we are, is let's define who we're not.
Yeah.
Let's pick out those people, places, things we do, habits we have that don't pay us back, that don't feed us tomorrow, that don't give us green lights in the future. Those investments that don't have ROI. Those ones that we keep waking up tomorrow in a little bit of a debit. Damn it, I got a hangover. I had the same amount of drinks at that bar as I have somewhere else, but I got a worse hangover. Well, maybe it was the conversation people we were hanging out with. Eliminate those. And by process of elimination, sheer mathematics, you end up with more room for the things that do feed you. So it's a much easier thing to start pointing at, you know what? I keep doing that and it doesn't pay me back. I'm not getting my compounding asset on that decision or those people, places. Eliminate those, and by sheer mathematics, we end up with more of what does feed us and pay us back, who we are.
Yeah, that's amazing you say that. I got interviewed yesterday. That's incredible. I got interviewed yesterday, guys. What are the steps of success? And I said to him, in my life, it's been more eliminating the things that were harming my progress. And it was like uncovering, this is the key. You know, it was more like that hurt me. This took my energy away. This depleted me. That didn't serve me. Exactly what you just said. You use the term green lights, which, by the way, that's the title of his book that came out a couple years ago. You should read it, but if you really want to give yourself a gift, get the audio version, because you get to hear this voice of his. But like the impressions and the stories in the book are unbelievable. But because it's going to lead to what you're doing on April 24th, and it also leads to just really kind of think the foundation of some of your belief systems in your work. What is, by definition, a green light?
Being cool to your future self. Making choices we can engineer green lights. And then sometimes they're mystical. We love green lights. They're the left lane of life. No speed limit, window down, T-top open, cruising. We got our direction and a full tank of gas. Let's roll. We love them. We're in the right line at the supermarket. We're in the flow, as it's called, right? Things are working out. Sometimes we're not even conscious of it. We were just in line and on time. Yes is the answer. And we're choosing the right things.
Yeah.
But it's investments that we make, choices we make. I noticed in writing the book that a lot of successes I had were engineered by habits and choices I made that had consistency. That's what I call a science to satisfaction. I believe there is a science to satisfaction. I noticed what I was eating, who I was hanging out with, when I was going to bed, how I was approaching the day. There were consistencies that led to times in my life where I had more joy and more success and was catching more green lights. I also noticed times where I was in a rut through my journals of, you veered from these tried and true habits that you had that were leading to success and giving you more green lights. Ooh, let's get back in our lane over here. And sure enough, more success and green lights I started to create for myself. We also get those mystical green lights where we're just Man, there's no reason, but there's a lot of rhyme. We met the right person, and damn it, if we'd have, left 5 minutes later or 30 seconds earlier, we might not have met them. They might not be married with the family we have now, or might not have got that job if we wouldn't have been just right there on that time, crossing that person, going through that door as they were coming out.
So true.
Those don't make any sense at the time, but when you look back, they connect the dots to right where we are. And that gets into more of the art of living. So that's why I call it the science of satisfaction leads to the art of living. And what we're going to do on 24th is try and get under the hood to go from the approach that I gave a lot of in Greenlights more into the process and tools that each of us can hopefully utilize in our own lives, particularly for you or anyone who's going to tune in and say, oh, I recognize that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an aberration. To engineer more Greenlights, find that science so we can get better at the art of living.
Man, I cannot wait for this event. We're going to talk a little bit about this in a minute, you guys, but just remember this, emliving.com. You just want to participate, trust me, because you don't get, it's really rare. I'm so excited you've done this and decided to step in even deeper than the book for this reason. Personal development, self-help, a lot of times is sort of loaded with a lot of theory.
Yep.
And I love theories. I've lived off a lot of these theories, but there's something powerful when someone's applied something in their life that gives it credibility that it otherwise might not have, because you can back it with a story or a fact or an anecdote. And that this industry is sometimes polluted to some extent with a lot of theoretical stuff that hasn't been proven in someone's real life. And you've done this in your real life. And one of the things you talk about with these green lights, or even just having something happen, that you and I are both Christians, but we also believe in energy and vibration and frequency and all that stuff. And I think when you're in that flow, that green light mode, there's a vibration to you. There's an energy to you that these things are sort of drawn your way, and you are in that flow state. And there's something so profound you said in the book about this story where you're living with this producer, and you tell him, hey, I got to get an agent. I got to get an agent. So you're kind of like chasing the green light. And he said, hey, man, you need it. And you paint this amazing distinction, because I know it's been true in my life, between need and want, and why need is not a real good space to be in. So if you tell them the story and then the lesson learned from it, it's awesome.
Yeah. I get out to Hollywood with a couple $1,000 in my pocket. I got a movie out, Dazed and Confused, which is really the only resume I have. It's enough to get me in a few doors, but it's not enough to be a lead pipe cinch. Oh, but I need an agent. I'm in Hollywood. I'm sleeping on this guy's couch, Don Phillips, the guy I met in a bar in Austin who gave me the chance to go audition for Dazed and Confused over a year earlier. I'm on his couch. My money's now into the 3 digits. I'm below $1,000. I'm starting to get a little like, I've been there a few weeks. I'm like, hey, I need, can you give me an agent meeting? And he snapped at me. Matthew, you need it too much. This industry, Hollywood, smells need. You're one and done, buddy. What you need to do is get the hell out of here. Go with your buddies and go ride motorcycles somewhere. Hell, pick Europe. I don't care. But go somewhere till you quit needing it so much, because if Hollywood smells you needing it, you're done. You're never in. And I did. I put on a backpack with my $800, and I went off with my 2 good buddies, Rory Cochran and Cole Hauser, and we rode motorcycles through Europe. I came back. I wasn't even thinking about an agent. I was what he called, now you're cool again. Now you're cool. And I was rolling along, and he's about a week later, after I returned, we're sitting there at dinner. He always made filet mignon and then had a scoop of Haagen-Dazs ice cream for dessert. Oh, he's done. He's since moved on. I love talking about him. And he goes, you're ready. And I go, for what? And he goes, tomorrow morning, we got a meeting, William Morris. You're going to go down. And I was like, oh, cool. Now, 5 weeks earlier, if he said that, I'd have been like, okay, good, man. I got this. Okay, I need that. I would have gone into the meeting. They would have smelt my need. They would have felt my need. I'd have leaned outside of myself. I would have oversold myself and probably dorked out and used too many words and not have been myself and over-leveraged myself. And they'd have been like, I'm not sure this guy's really, he's kind of wants it too much, needs it too much. And instead I went in, believed in myself, had a presence about me, didn't oversell myself, but really let them know, no, I actually think you need me as an agent. And that made me a more valuable asset to them. I got an agent, and then damn it, if I had my first 2 auditions in Hollywood from that agent, I got the jobs.
Did you?
Yeah.
Don't you think, like, I think that's a Hollywood story, but it's not. Like, if you're having a hard time finding the relationship that you want, everybody's been on that date with that person that just seems to need it a little too much. Or the salesperson, like, man, everything's good, and your need to sell me is getting in the way of me buying it from you.
We can smell the solicit.
Yes.
And nobody likes the smell. We all love a good salesman, but it's like the difference between a bullshitter and a liar. A bullshitter at least kind of winks at you while they're telling the tale to let you know, hey, just go with me. And there's something that adorable about that, right?
Yes, yes.
You see someone that needs, and this goes for my love story with my wife, Camilla. Mm-hmm. When I met her, when I saw her move across the room that night, I had just come to a place spiritually where I was like, you know what, Matthew? Your dream is to be a father. You may not get married. You may have kids. Now, something about that dream and my relationship with God, there was a grace of God saying, that's okay if that happens. So for the first time in my life, I was like, it's not ideal, but I will be okay with that spiritually. And as soon as that happened, I went from this, looking for her at every damn red light, in the produce section, everybody I met, maybe. I was hunting, I was needing, I was looking for that mate. Wasn't near as attractive. As soon as it came to me that, like, you may not meet her. And can you be okay with that, with yourself, Matthew, and spiritually? And as soon as I was okay with that, I had a presence. I was now able to receive love from somebody. I was able to see somebody, and they let them see me. And that's when she showed up. That's when she came into my life. When I quit hunting, when I quit rubbernecking at every red light, looking like maybe the car next to me, maybe that's her.
Yeah. I got to tell you, it's one of those really invisible, subtle things that most people don't have any appreciation for, is what he's telling you right now, everybody. I'm telling you right now, that need thing is repelling. There's some type of energy that just, it doesn't work. I'm curious about you, though, because you're a pretty good looking man, number one, and you've had some notoriety. I don't know if you're aware of this or not, and a little bit of financial success in your life as well. And so it's interesting to me that you were looking like that when you have all the options in the world, number one. But number two, that it seems to me, brother, that family, your marriage and your children are such a giant priority from you. And this is something I wanted to ask you. It's really not a lot there's parts of this in the book, but there's something I wanted to know about you, because a lot of times what we see in our life, we end up modeling. So I'm reading about you and I'm like, whoa, this dude grew up in I'm sure it was a loving family, but it is an interesting damn family you grew up in. Yeah. Am I right that your parents were married 3 times?
Married 3 times, divorced twice.
Did y'all just hear that right now? So it's been pretty easy for you to kind of model. I assume that meant there was some chaos happening.
Oh, hell yeah.
Right. So yes. Like, share a little bit of that. And then are you like conscious of being the antithesis of that? And because I think that's an important thing in life. Like my dad was an alcoholic. My dad got sober. My dad was an alcoholic though. And there's a lot of chaos in my life. And I remember when I started to have a family, like I want peace in our home. We're going to talk a little bit in a while about joy, because I love that word you use, but I was conscious of sort of trying to create that which didn't exist in my home. Were you?
Good question, because I don't ever remember consciously thinking I want to push away from that. And remind me to come back to this line, because I want to tell you a story about my mother and why my mother was such a good mother.
Okay.
She had a stepmother who was horrific. Not one bit of good mother. My mom didn't know how to be a mom. All she did is goes, I want to be the opposite of that. And she became a great mom. Now, I didn't consciously ever think, oh, I don't want to do it how mom and dad did. I did say, I'm not looking for that many tidal waves. I'd like a little bit smoother running stream in my relationship. My mom, to this day, if you're having a civil, cool conversation where all voices are nice and low and everyone's kumbaya and getting along, 15 minutes of that will bore my mama. My mama will throw a wrench in the situation just to, hey, let's spice it up. Huh? She's still that way, and she's 91. That was her and my dad's relationship. They were physical, divorced twice, married 3 times. What I took from that was, hey, guess what? Love 1, 3-2. That's what I got from it. And I took from it, I don't need to get divorced and married twice for love to win. I want to like to get married once, and let's roll with that. And do my mom and dad, I'm much more, if I have to raise my voice, I immediately have a trigger goes off in my mind that says, McConaughey, what did you not handle for it to get to this point? Now, my mom and dad raised their voice a couple times a week. And that was just part of the conversation. It was like the stereotype of Italians. It was always big and hands and hey, big and loud. And that's just how they communicated. And my mom to this day would say, no, that's what I needed to communicate. There were no regrets. So we never had a question if we were loved. I never had a question if my mom loved my dad loved my mom. I did say, I'm not looking for that rocky of a road.
Yeah.
I'd rather not. And fortunately, Camilla was someone who was not looking for that either. And little known fact, Camilla's parents, my wife now, were married twice, divorced 3 times.
Come on, man.
They ended up on the divorce side.
What are the odds of that, though? Like, couples usually don't get married more than one time. Then one marriage between the two of you, there's 4?
5 marriages and 5 divorces.
The same married couple. That's bananas. That is literally bananas. What did you wanted to say something about your mom being a good mom. You wanted to make sure you made a reference to that.
Well, that was it, that she learned it. We, again, process of elimination, what we started off talking about.
Yeah.
It's not always what you go to affirmatively and play offense. It's a lot of times, what are we pushing against in defense to get our identity? My mom eliminated, well, I don't know how to be a mom, but I know I want to be the opposite of that lady who raised me, is what she said, who was a non grata mom. And so to this day, my mom didn't know what to do. She just said, I'm doing the opposite of how her mom treated her. And that turned out to be being a great mom.
Do you think that, I was reading your stuff and I'm like, because I talk a lot about happiness. In fact, my podcast that's out today is about happiness. This Harvard study, longest study in the history of mankind, 85-year study. They took 1,000 privileged kids from Harvard University, 1,000 young boys, same age from South Boston, underprivileged families, and they studied them for 85 years. A fascinating study about who ended up happier and, who lived longer and whose well-being and what made them happy. Actually, one of the kids in the study was JFK. No joke. It's an amazing, amazing study. It's worth listening to. However, it's around happiness. And you make this distinction. This is why your work, it's really unique. You make this distinction between joy and happiness.
Right.
And I have never heard this before in my life. To me, they've sort of been very similar things, but you correlate happiness almost to like, we get happiness if we've done something, whereas joy can be present at any time. Talk about that for a second. This is awesome.
So happiness, as most of us are taught, or as most of us see it, myself included, is result-oriented. If then. If I get this, then I will be happy. If I reach this goal, then I will be happy. It's almost like a ta-da moment. If I get enlightened and spiritually, then I will be, namaste, whatever it is. And over in my own life and from other mentors and wise men and women in the world, there's no ta-da moment. There's no hill that you get to the top of and you go, finally, I did it. Because what do you see? Once you get to the top, 1,000 other hills or another one that's taller that you're like, so you immediately upgrade your iOS of happiness and you project it into the future again for another hill to climb. So it's a moving target that you're constantly chasing. Now I'm all for the chase and the setting of goals to go reach and the writing of headlines early to tell your story towards that. But what I've noticed is joy is more the verb. Joy is the doing of what we're fashioned to do and enjoying the process of the doing. And if we can get out of our mind that there is a finish line and just enjoy the race and chase ourselves in this race and go, the best we can do is get to the end of this life and say, look back and go, well, I didn't make it to the top, but how many stairs did I ascend? or how wide did my stairs reach, or how deep did my roots grow? Just tally it up. Hopefully we're in the black. Hopefully we're in the asset. And if there's life after this, hopefully the prime mover's going, well done. But I mean, I think that's as good as it gets. It's my problem with extra credit today. 4.2 GPAs and participation trophies. No, 100, the top is as good as it gets. There's no such thing as 110%. Maybe we ought to bring back D's in school. You know what I mean? It's like,
you're right.
Like if we can make a B plus in this life, that's damn good. Or if we can get, but we're never going to get perfection. We're never going to reach 100. We're never going to reach the top of that staircase. And that is what we call happiness, that we keep bumping forward. But if we can enjoy the process along the way, I find that you don't reach lower levels than if you just chased happiness. You actually reach the same levels or more, and you had a pretty damn good time on the way.
So true. I got to tell you, man, that is wisdom. I think I figured out a version of that, but I'm 52 next month. It took me till my 40s. And I'm like, wow, this finish line keeps freaking moving. It keeps moving. Like, no, once I've got this, or once I got a jet, or I'm living at the beach, or I've got this award, or this many people know me. And it kept moving. And I'm like, this is insane. And to your point, when I started to give myself the gift of, I thought, man, if I don't keep moving the finish line, I'm going to lose my drive. So this thing, even though it hasn't brought me a lot of bliss in my life, it sure keeps me driven and hungry.
Yeah.
And if I let go of this finish line mentality, when I get there thing, I'll lose my drive and ambition. And to your point, I couldn't have been more wrong, because when I started to give myself the gift of joy in my home, in my life, in my emotions on a daily basis, I actually found I had more energy to pursue the achievements that I want in my life. And I wasn't so damn tired every time I finally got to one of these artificial finish lines.
Amen. And you know, I hear you on your 40s. 40s were a great customizing decade for me too, where I actually learned to trust. Hey, buddy, if you quit pursuing that actual result, you're not going to lose your work ethic. You're not going to lose your drive. You're not going to lose your want to. It's just going to be more natural through the day. It'll actually be more instinctual. And as you say, you don't reach it and go, oh. You kind of get up there and you're kind of going, oh, is this it? It's the old what's the best round of golf you play? Say you're 10 handicap and you're 5 over on 16 tee box. You're gonna shoot a better round if you don't look at the scorecard.
It's so true.
When you're walking off of 18 green, heading towards the next tee box, and someone has to remind you, no, dude, round's over. Yes. You know, I found it in my career when I started. I had a little 6-year run there, and even with Dallas Buyers Club, I was not chasing result. I was like, F the results, man. My head's down in the process, and let the results be. I got more results when I quit chasing result. I didn't lose my drive. I worked as hard. Definitely worked smarter. There's a great example in that Jared Leto, who won Academy for Best Supporting Actor in that. Guess when he and I met?
When?
Wrap of shooting on the set, the last day. That's a wrap. We worked. He was the character. I was Ron. He was Rayon. When we said hello as Ron and Rayon when we met 2 weeks before we started filming. We filmed for 5 weeks. All of a sudden, they yelled wrap that night, and he and I looked at the AD and said, "Okay, see you tomorrow." And the AD was like, "No, that's a film wrap. There is no tomorrow." Wow. And I stopped and looked over, and Jared stopped and looked at me, and I walked up and I went, "McConaughey," and he goes, "Jared, nice to meet you."
Come
we
on,
were both
man.
just head down in the process.
So not only are you separating from what the outcome is, you separate from a lot of different things. That is bananas. So you separate from outcome and kind of like giving a crap about what they think. Also, like that's a really hard thing for most people in our culture today, where everything is supposed to be validated. Did this post get a like? Did it not get a like? Did it? You know, this obsession almost with what people are thinking about. I actually think the result obsession is a what people think about me obsession. Like I work with some PGA guys and their fear of missing a putt. And I'm like, You're not really afraid of missing the putt. You're not even afraid of losing the tournament. You're actually afraid of what people are going to think about the fact that you missed this putt that you're supposed to be making. This obsession with what are they going to think, I think also causes us to hyper-focus on the result because we want them to think good things about us.
Society has us living in the third person. We're all running. We're pulling Leon Letts in the Super Bowl. We're returning the kickoff for a touchdown, looking at the Jumbotron at the 50, wondering if we're going to make it on SportsCenter best plays. And that's just when we get tackled from behind, when we quit behaving and just doing the behavior of the process and taking the action that we're doing. Look, when I'm doing it, and I think when most people are doing it and in the joy of the process and head down, it's a vacation because it's solely subjective. I'm on an island. It is literally a vacation to have a singular obsession when you're doing that thing. Now, I understand it's a privilege. I have a wife who, when I go out the door every day to work, she tells me, I got the kids, don't look over your shoulder, go kick ass. That's a privilege. I understand that. But when we're taking an action, if we have to do it, or to do it with pleasure and enjoy and stay in the present of the action, the joy is if you bump the finish line almost to an unreachable place. If you bump it, Bo Jackson didn't just run across the goal line. He ran across the goal line and through the tunnel. You know what I mean? Snipers don't aim at the target. They aim on the other side. Therefore, you never choke when you're on the goal line, so to speak, because you're like, no, the finish line's way down there. And all of a sudden someone has to tell you, no, you crossed the goal line, you scored. You're like, oh, I did? I thought we had to go another 40 yards.
Now you're on to something right there, brother. That's that whole concept that when they wrap shooting, you're like, we're wrapped?
Right. I'm coming back tomorrow. Yeah.
I got to tell you, I think what it gives you maybe is freedom. I think it's a freedom when you're totally immersed in a process and not so concerned about results or outcomes. It creates a freedom. And then that science, you can actually navigate in an art form when you're in it. I think that allows the art to sort of take over the energy, the whatever it is, when you're totally free. So I've been talking for a long time here on the show about the fact that I've been really working on my Spanish, and I just took a trip to Mexico the last few weeks. I went on a speaking tour down there with John Maxwell, and I got a chance to really see whether or not I've improved. I got to tell you, thanks to Babbel, my Spanish is pretty darn good. I was able to order in restaurants, communicate with people, even had a great time at a cigar lounge, chopping it up with a bunch of people speaking Spanish, thanks to Babbel. And one of the reasons I love Babbel is you have to spend hundreds of dollars on some professional tutor, and their lessons are only 10 minutes long, crafted by about 200 different language experts. They're very easy to learn, and you're going to be making improvements right away. I really recommend you try Babbel. So here's a special limited time deal for our listeners. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription, but only for our listeners at babbel.com/Mylett. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/Mylett. Spelled Babbel, BABBEL.com/Mylett. Rules and restrictions may apply. Please visit babbel.com for details. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp, and I'm grateful that it is. I got to tell you, I get asked all the time, what's the one thing that most of the guests that have been on this show have in common? I can tell you, they're all from different backgrounds. Some of them are tall, some of them are short, some of them are from the U.S., some of them are from abroad, different ethnic backgrounds, religious backgrounds, you name it. But I got to tell you, most of them have been to therapy, and I'm a big believer in therapy. I think that whether you've got some real trauma you got to work through in your life, or, you just got a problem you want to work on right now, maybe you just want to talk out loud about some issues you got or find a better quality of emotions. Big believer in therapy, and I love BetterHelp. I love BetterHelp because number one, it's done online. Number two, if you get a therapist, you don't vibe with them, you can switch at any given time that you want to. It's a wonderful way to go to therapy, and I really believe it can help you if you have things that you want help with. So decide today you're going to give BetterHelp a shot and stop comparing and start focusing with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/EdShow today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/EdShow. You were saying before we started, though, it was 4 years ago that we did our show. And that at the time when we were doing the show, there were a lot of theoretical things that you talked about on that show that you believed in, that you were implementing into your life. And now you're like, now I have some data to really validate some of the stuff that I believe in. So what are some of those things that, like you said on the show, and you're like, and now I'm seeing in real life the results from those things?
Yeah. I think the most profound one was really about sort of what I really discovered and talked a lot about in 2018. We did the show was that life is about this pursuit of the ideal version of yourself, right? And this has been something you've talked about forever, where it's this idea of putting out into the future what you want to become, and then building a plan and strategy and put in all the energy and effort to go and achieve it, right? And you will grow into that person over time. And so that pursuit we talked a lot about as being really important. And I was talking a lot about it from the business lens and doing it from a balanced perspective.
Yeah.
And what happened for me in that conversation is it led to what happens when you reach that person. And I made the comment of, I think like when you eventually get to the ideal version of yourself, that you sort of settle into sort of a rhythm, and your pursuit wouldn't quite be the same. And within 4 years, I achieved all of the goals that I set in 2016 and became the ideal version of myself. So I actually, rather than guessed at what would happen to me when I finally reached the ideal version of myself, I actually experienced it. And what was so profound for me is, since you grow into your ideal self, you're growing along the way, and as you learn more and see, you begin to see further. So the ideal version of yourself is always off in the distance, and it's not about ever ending the game and that you're there. It's actually the pleasure and the actual joy that you get from living is in that pursuit. The difference is I learned to control that pursuit and grew in a systematic, harmonious way, and then grew beyond what my ideal version at that time would become, because I grew into a completely different person by the time I got there.
You guys all get it now? See what I'm talking about? It took 4 minutes, and there you get it. So that's why it's my dude to talk to. He is special. The success that he's had in his life isn't by mistake. And I'm not just talking about his financial or television success. I'm talking about kind of father he is, kind of friend he is, kind of husband he is. None of this is by mistake. In my life, I have some really brilliant entrepreneur friends, and I have some really brilliant personal development friends. I don't know anybody with the combination of both like you. I don't. One of the things I'm learning from you, I want to go right to some of your stuff. I'm a work lots of hours guy. I'm a pound it, let's go, grind, bingo. And you're like, hey, that's not exactly how it works, bro. Hey, there's a better way. And so why don't you share with us the better way, what your theory about hours and time, and also the value of a minute, the value of time.
Yeah, it's funny because, I'm, sometimes I'll watch your stories and it's like, I don't feel like going today, but I got to get up and I got to make it happen. And I'm like, man, why you don't feel like, why are you putting yourself in a position where you don't feel like going today? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's fair.
Because, I almost like to look at myself. I've evolved into like a blend of Sadhguru, Ray Dalio, and who's the good doctor that's tapped into the quantum field? Dispenza. I'm basically a combination of all three of those. Right?
Dalio, Dispenza, and Sadhguru.
Right. Like
hello. That's maybe the best combo ever.
Look, when I think about what's intersected through me, it's that analytical, like data-driven side of Dalio. It's the tap into the quantum field of Dispenza, and it's the reality you experience today is based off of every action decision that you have made in the past. That is the Sadhguru sort of karma concept, right? And to me, if you want to have a truly rich, fulfilling life, you have to find joy in every part of it. And in order to do that, you have got to use your time with absolute intention. And so for me, it's everybody knows that.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only resource you got. It's the only resource that's limited, man. You're locked up. And for me,
is that your impression of me?
No, that was like a middle ground one. You know what I'm saying? But I was halfway in it. You know, I push you towards like a wrestler voice. You know what I mean? But when I started tracking all of my time, my life changed, right? Because it's like, I used to design what I called the rhythm of existence, right? So I built the rhythm of existence in 2015, which was essentially the operating system for my life. And so it had all these principles and had all these things that I would do with my time, and then I would create a rhythm of the year, like when sort of all the constants were and when the variables would happen, you know, because your life flows around weekends and holidays and birthdays. It has this cadence that you can build sort of your time around, that you can get better and better at predicting how to use your time more efficiently. But boy, I started tracking all of it. I would just, you know, I'd plan a lot of it, and then I would be highly adaptive and adjust it. But the thing that I started doing every day is just tagging every hour and what did I do. And I eventually found somebody in 2020 that heard me talk about it and came in and wrote a script that went into my Google Calendar that pumped that thing out into a dashboard. And now I could see how I used my time on a weekly, monthly, yearly basis by hour and by percentage. And so that began to create this really interesting clarity as it related to like the time matrix from a percentage standpoint, right? If you have, you know, 8,760 hours in the year and you do something for 365 days a year for 1 hour, it's 4% of your life, right? If you, you know, sleep 7 hours, it's like, you know, 28% of your life. You know, if you work a 40-hour week, it's 23% of your life. So I began to see the structure of this time, and as you begin to understand and design it against how you want to use it, you begin to question its efficacy. How high of efficacy are you using with this actual time? And then when you decide to do something, you start thinking about it in second and third order consequences, right? Because we'll get excited about an idea that we want to do, and we just think about the idea. Oh, we don't think about the time, energy, and mental capacity that it'll take from, and then the long tail of that. Because once we commit to something, what happens? We could be trapped by it. Right. And if it ends up taking way more time, like it could end up being detrimental to your overall well-being and your balance in your mind. Right. So for me, as I began to do all that and really look at the time matrix, I began to put value on every bit of that time. And then I began to assess that time by how did it make me feel qualitatively. And that then began to make me continually adjust how I design the time. Because what I realized is what's happening, the world's changing, you're changing at all times. You're evolving, everything around you's evolving. So you can't just make one great schedule and there you go, you did it. You have a perfect time management skills. Like, you're constantly need to be adjusting how you use time and the value of that time, and how you see you should spend that on an ongoing basis or on an ad hoc basis. Like, and you have to continually design it better and better over time. And what I did was grow the skill set of continually optimizing time and assessing it and redesigning it, that allowed me to get more and more efficient. So I could go from, doing 250 episodes of television, doing, 52 podcasts, managing, if I have core 6 companies that I have to be actively managing inside it to go along with all my other pursuits, and still do that with only 23% of my time. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is, and where you now have gotten so efficient that you choose efficiency over anything else.
You mind giving them an example? Because I know it. Like, for example, like when I've come to you with different things, like, hey, I got this TV show idea. You're like, well, how much of your time is it going to take? How does it make you feel? What's it going to cost you somewhere else? What percentage of it is for you? Even when we first started here, even this podcast, I'm like, it's this percentage of my time. It's this percentage of my income. However, it's a big percentage of joy for me. But in your case, if you don't mind, and if you don't, it's okay. But like, even the way you shoot your show, one of the things when you hear this man talk, he has as big a life as about anybody that I know. I mean, he's got a show where he shoots a bazillion episodes. He's in the production side. He's on the talent side. He's got the Dyrdek machine. He's got his investments. He's got different business. He's got a core, and he's a very, very active father, very, very active husband. He's got a public persona to keep up. He's got a social media. He's got a podcast, and that's just like some of it. Yet I don't know anyone who navigates their life more seamlessly and beautifully than you do. I don't. But you'd make it wouldn't seem that way. So give us a practical example for you, like on the way that you scale time, like for your show, what you did in the way that you shoot it and the gaps in between shows. Is that too personal? Or
No.
share that, because I want people to think, okay, that sounds really good theoretically, but like I'm trying to get my startup off the ground. My kids are in soccer, I've got the gym I got to get to. So what does that look like practically? How do I actually begin to navigate it?
Yeah, look, I think, like it's every bit of your life has the ability to be designed into time. You know what I mean? And yes, things are going to come at you that you need to change. And then everything you want to drive to automation, right?
Okay.
Everything in my life, I try to drive to automation. And then when I feel friction, I go to optimize it. And when I feel friction, I apply a system or a solution. And I just keep doing that over and over and over to reduce all friction and drive everything to a much higher state of efficiency, right? And the show itself is this beautiful example of,
it is.
I used to shoot 60 episodes a year, and it would tear the soul out of me. It would tear the soul out of me. I didn't even want to shoot the show anymore. I didn't want to shoot the show anymore because it just took too much energy. It would be 5 weeks straight where I would shoot like 4 days a week, and it would just like, I would be, at the end of it, I would be so exhausted and be like, I don't even like enjoy doing this. Like, I don't care what it pays me. It's like, it's too much of my energy and well-being, right? And so I began to just look at ways to make it more and more efficient and look at the things that bother me, because we used to shoot 2 a day, and then we would shoot for an hour, do all these pickups in between, then I would stay for an hour and then do voiceover on the stage for an hour, and then we would break for an hour, then I would do the whole thing again. I would get there at like 9:30, 10 and leave at like 6, right? And then that would be a 5-week stretch of like 4 days a week, and just terrorize me. Then I'd have to drive out to Glendale to get prepped for the shows and spend 3 or 4 hours going through all the shows. And I just slowly kept looking at every possible thing that I could optimize. And it started first with how they built the shows and presented them to me. And I got to, instead of driving out to Glendale to look at them, hey, let's start doing it online and send them to me. And then it's like, start presenting them to me in this structure. And then it got to the point where I stopped even talking to them. They just would send them to me. I would review them, and it went from 3 hours round trip to do it to 15 minutes.
This is Rob right here, you guys. This is the stuff. Yeah.
And to then actually shooting the show, then it was like, how can we make it more and more efficient? All right, I'm just going to fire off a lot more off the cuff stuff that you can edit in instead of doing the voiceover. And then I took, shooting the show for an hour plus, and then doing an hour of voiceover. I drove that all the way down to about 35 minutes. Then I said, hey, how do we can we take one clip out of every single one of these, because we're shooting with 6 clips, but we're only editing 4 and 5. And so we took a clip out of everything, drove the time down to 29 minutes, right? And so then it became, okay, you shoot 2 a day, let's shoot 2 a day before lunch. Then it was like, okay, let's shoot 3 a day before lunch. Then it was like, all right, let's shoot 6 a day, 3 before lunch, 3 after. And then now I could get 6 done in a day, and then I could spread out when I shoot to where I only shoot a couple times a month. Then, boy, now I feel like it's back in my life. It's back in my rhythm. It's no longer taking energy. It's much more efficient to get prepped for. It's easier to shoot. The energy's not gone because I shoot it so quickly that the energy's good. Pop into the next one. But I just kept looking at way after all these different ways that I continued to optimize. And then now going into next year, I'm going to start shooting 336. Okay. And I'm going to shoot 8 a day. And so I was like, I don't want to give up any more time? Where can I save time? We have 15 minutes between the shows to change wardrobe. So if I eliminate 2 wardrobe changes and in between the shows and 15 minutes at lunch, I get back that hour, and now I can shoot 336 in the same 42 days, 5 hours a day, as I did to shoot the 252 with prep time the night before and drive time there and back. That is 4% of my life.
See, you guys, this is why I want him around me. Let me interrupt you, okay? I want to give you guys like the easy application for me. This hyper obsession with optimization of time and oneself. When you're around somebody, they become a friend of yours, some of it rubs off on you. So I don't have the types of show that he has. I don't shoot 350 episodes. I don't have that. But it has caused me to begin to evaluate, where am I just pissing time away? Where is it causing me more stress? What are the different things I do? I'll give you one small thing that's a massive thing after I met you. I started looking at just meetings that I take. And I'm like, why are all my meetings 1 hour long? Why is it blocked from, you think about all of you do this, you're like, yeah, that's right. Why is it from 4 to 5 o'clock? How do I know this thing's going to last an hour? And because it lasts an hour, because we've blocked an hour, we take up the hour. But perhaps this is a 20-minute meeting, right? Perhaps this is a 14-minute meeting. Why is everything 4 to 4:30, 5:30 to 6, 5? Why are they all these round number blocks of time that we've all accepted need to be blocks of time? And because that's the block, that's how long the meeting takes, right? You're nodding when I say this. So I've gotten with my team now, and now they know. Let's find out how long this meeting is required to happen, the most efficient time for the meeting, not where I'm dismissive of people or don't give them the adequate amount of time or the emotional connection. But you'll find, everybody, most meetings don't need to be an hour.
They don't.
They don't. They don't need to be a half an hour.
Yeah.
And so when I started to get those things done, I have a lot of 15-minute meetings now.
Yep.
And my whole life opened up because of it. And here's the other thing. I bring better energy to those meetings. So you're so right. Like when you first started, I'm like, this is really good in theory, dude, because you got this big old life. But for the beginner, they just got to go.
Yeah.
But the truth is, when you're just going, I want you to speak to this. So let's now go. The guy goes, that's great. I don't have 350 of anything. I don't have 64 of that.
Yeah.
I got a job. I've got a side hustle. I got a family. I'm trying to get this going. So I'm throwing a bunch of time at it. But my thing I want you to speak to is your lack of valuing time is impacting not only your fatigue, your energy, your performance, but it's impacting every part of you because other people don't value your time or you when you don't. And when you begin to take control of time, even as a beginner, my belief is other people value you more. You agree with that?
Yeah. And look, I think the other thing is you end up creating sort of your system that also allows you to be available a lot more than you should be. You know what I mean? And then people rely on that availability to then have a more scattered, erratic schedule that you've got to be fit into, and they pull the energy from you because you're essentially operating that way, and that scatteredness becomes how the people operate around you, right? Which
really good.
Almost never allows you to get there, right? And to me, when you start thinking about your whole life, forget about just time because time's just one sort of piece of what you need to have high energy and have a great life. And so it's if you don't design time to meditate, to free think, to get to the gym, to do all these things that you know you need to do that make you the better version of you and make you feel more balanced in your mind, that allows you to have better energy and more clarity at that meeting, and you just continually go from thing to thing to thing because, I have to go from thing to thing to thing, then you are never going to have the time to do the things that you want to do because you're too busy doing the things you have to do on an ongoing basis as a way of life.
Man.
You are the machine, and you design the machine to go from thing to thing to thing to thing till you're exhausted, then you complain, then you overcorrect and try to get rid of all these things to get it back, when in fact it is the way that you have built your system that has bound you to this habitual way of not having time, rather than designing your whole system around using time the right way.
I think it's the most breakthrough stuff anyone's talking about right now.
particularly designed for this time.
Yeah.
I mean it. I think it speaks to everybody at every stage, no matter if they have a big, huge life and all the things you have going or I have going, or they're beginning to build their dream life. If you don't get intentional about this, that's the micro.
But let me say this to that,
Yeah.
right? Everybody's got a big life.
Mm.
Because I have the same time, energy, and capacity as you.
Yeah.
Like anyone listening to this, we all are in the same construct of time.
Yeah.
We all, yes, our energy may vary, but we all have control to take care of ourselves, to do more things that we like, to begin to evolve our life in a way to where we have higher energy, but we all have a limit, a human physical and mental capacity. And if we go over it, we collapse in.
Gosh.
Even me. Right? Like I have completely organized, perfectly designed time, beautiful rhythm, clear vision and goals, and executing everything within this beautiful matrix. I'm highly optimized. Why am I overwhelmed? Why am I overwhelmed? Because I went past capacity, right? And that's sort of the second edge, is understanding your physical and mental capacity and being able to manage that inside the way that you design your time. Because when you become overwhelmed, your decisions like degenerate, and then you ultimately start overcorrecting.
By the way, how brilliant you are about that. I make the worst decisions when I'm fatigued, and typically what I'm doing when I'm fatigued is the overcorrection, and then I'm like overscheduling. Then once my energy comes back, I look at a day or a week and I'm like, oh my gosh, what was I thinking when I agreed to all of this stuff? Yeah. And a lot of it isn't productive stuff. And then I don't have time for the things that would move the needle in my fitness, in my mental health, in my financial life. Yeah. And all of a sudden, lots of stuff is in a schedule that doesn't necessarily move the needle in my life in the areas that I want the needle to move to. Speaking of life and needle moving, I don't know if you texted me this or you posted it, so it probably doesn't matter. But that's the micro stuff. The macro is you're so obsessed with this that you look at like duration of time on the planet. Mm-hmm. And it was something about, you just realized, you read something on you're laughing, but did you text me this or did you post it?
I just posted that I wanted to live 1 million hours.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So you read something that convinced you that that you could live to a particular age, and you deduced how many hours there. So I actually think this is brilliant, because this type of focus causes us to live with intention and attention, and the lack of, I think all the time, do you know when I pray at night? You're going to laugh at this. Never said this out loud, not even to my wife. I'm going to tell you and about 70 billion people right now. When I pray at night, one of my last prayers is that I'm going to live to 128 years old. Okay. And I really believe, now, again, someone will listen to this in 3 years. Wow, it's so sad he passed away. But I have that prayer and that intention, and I've repeated it over and over and over and over again. Because I believe if I don't pick a number, if I don't pick a time, if I don't set a goal, if I don't, then I'll be up to the whims of whatever else comes my way. And I really believe that you create a space when you set something like that didn't exist before you did it. And then you find the behaviors, the people, the things, the thoughts, the technology, the nutrition to fill it up. What I didn't do was calculate the amount of hours that it gives me to then optimize that time. So speak to that whole thing.
Yeah. And look, it really makes me happy. That means we're going to be friends deep into our hundreds.
I love it.
We're going to be having these conversations about, what do you think? You thinking you're going to 128? You think you're good? I don't know. I'm feeling pretty good right now. But awesome. I think about it more from this is what I'm big on. This is your existence. Right, and this is the framework of the human experience. Right, you only truly can judge anything, your energy, how well you're using time, everything that's happened in your past, how you actually feel in the present moment. True. You can only do it in the present moment, and you only experience it in your mind, right? And then you have to make a decision of like, I want to change all of these things, so I'm going to create a better future experience. Yeah. That is the human experience, and I realized that I wanted to make it last to 112. I initially wanted to live to 104 and be shot in a rocket into space and explore the universe without the light pollution from planet Earth for the last year before I died, and then floated out into the cosmos. Now, that was before I had a wife and kids. And so it's like now the audacity of don't worry about me. And then like I'm up there for like 24 more years. Like, so that changed. And then when I read the book Ikigai, right, the Japanese long life and happiness book, they talked about super centurions. And I'm like, oh, like that brand. I want to be a super centurion. So then I made it that I would want to live to 112. And then as I started getting deeper into, okay, how many days is that? All right, okay, that's how many days I have. This is how many days that I've done so far. Then when I was going through my time matrix and looking at all these different things where I spend time of like, wow, I spend nearly as much time shooting a television show as I will picking up my kids and taking them to school for the year. Right. And to me, as I just started looking at these hours, and then where am I losing a lot of time? On the couch watching Netflix. You know what I mean? It's me and the wife on there watching our favorite show. But boy, when you start looking at what that is, man, you're letting the hard 8 to 9% go on the couch. You know what I mean? Like it's cold hard reality. But as I looked at that, I then was like, what's a round number of time? And like, wow, 1 million hours is 114 years and 54 days. Yeah. I'm gonna experience 1 million hours on this earth, right? And so, of course, a lot of people push back on like, oh, it's good, yeah, you're like a vegetable. What are you gonna do? And it's like I didn't even contemplate that, and it's because you live in two different mindsets. I live in a mindset that I just keep getting healthier and happier, more balanced, lighter. Life is more effortless. My system, that is my entire body, is more efficient. And I can show you in blood work. I can show you in net worth. I can show you in time. And I can show you in qualitative data that I have collected about how I feel about my life, work, and health, that I am in healthier, better physical condition, wealthier, more balanced, and happier in the data, which only proves to me there's no reason why you can't keep getting healthier, happier, and wealthier for the remainder of your life. Then I'll just fall right off a cliff. You know what I mean? Whatever it ends up ending. But again, what's it go back to? I want to live with absolute intention, and I want to experience every moment that I get into and feel the vividness and the richness and the beauty that is the human experience and life.